How's it going? Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about the Sigma 24 to 70 for the E mount, but they're all the DGDN mount or DGDN models, all the same. So for Nikon, Fuji, Canon, EF, it's all the same glass. They just made a different mount. So if you have one of those bodies, it should be similar. So I took it out of the box already so you can see it. It is this big. It's pretty heavy. I don't know how heavy it is. Um, right now I have a CPL filter on it, cut out glare. Um, the reason you would want to get one of these is that it has the maximum aperture is 2.8, which compared to a kit lens is like the cheap lens you would get with a camera. That's going to be at like 3.5 and between 3.5 and 5.6. And those maximum apertures are not good or ideal for nighttime settings. So if you're a beginner photographer, you're probably going to try a lot of nighttime stuff and you're going to be disappointed because your lens can't keep up and you're going to blame the body. Even though the body's fine, it just needs a lens. And so most prime lenses can go down to 1.4. And this is a zoom lens, 24 to 70 millimeters. That's the focal range. But it still has a low aperture of 2.8, which is comparable to a low aperture like 1.8 or 1.4. So that means this lens is able to keep up in dark scenarios, which is nice, and also gives a nice bokeh effect when you're taking pictures of people. If you see the halo effects in the background, that's because of bokeh. Um, so on this camera, I have something very similar to the kit lens. It's actually the kit lens for the ASPC model, which is a half frame, or half. It's a crop sensor, which means I have the A7 IV Sony, which is a full frame camera, has 33 megapixels. But this lens is made for a camera that has half the size of the the mirrorless camera sensor, so it doesn't really work properly for it. So I have to go into ASPC mode to shoot this. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because this shoots at 3.5 to 5.6, which is the kit lens range, and I was able to keep up. Today I shot some concerts with this lens just to test it out. I don't know how well that's going to show up. Let's see if it shows up. It's not going to show up. But they're actually comparable because you can shoot that range in a bright scenario. Uh, but I was actually wishing that I had brought this lens, even though it's 4 times as heavy. This thing is like 5 pounds. It's a very heavy lens, but it's worth it. This is what it comes with the lens hood. Very nice autofocus. Um, this I bought for this runs about, I believe you can get it for 1100. I got it for 1050, 1050. I'd say it's very worth it, very much worth it. I got it from Best Buy. It came with a warranty. If you have you can check the serial code on this, and if you have, there's a certain range where they did a manufacturer callback because a lens or dust was getting under the lens, and so if you have a camera or if you have one of these lenses and there's dust under there, you can probably contact Sigma and get them to change it for you or replace it, fix it, whatever. They'll honor it pretty nicely. This one is based off of the 24 to 70 G Master by Sony, but the Sony one is twice as expensive, and you see minimal uh, sharpness increase, and the autofocus on the Sigma 24 to 70 is very comparable to the Sony. Uh, if I were to go back, I would probably just get the Sony because I wouldn't say I'm a professional photographer, but I do it full time, and I would be one of the people interested in having a fast autofocus. But for everyday use and for the average consumer, I think this lens is more than capable for everything. Um, it's a zoom lens, so this is a really nice lens to have in concert environments because I can increase my focal range pretty nicely, and I can go into ASPC mode on my camera and gain another 20 meters by doing that. So I can turn this into like a 24. Actually, it wouldn't be 24. It would be like a 44 to what 90, 90 meters, which or 90 millimeters. Yeah, you know, which is pretty cool. You can lock your your aperture, which is really cool. So if you want to shoot, say you want that 50 millimeter look, you just there's numbers here. Let's see if I can get it on there. Numbers there. You lock it on 50, turn it around. There's a lock button. Wait, hold up. I have to do everything in reverse on the camera. Hold up. All right, what does it want to do it? So maybe that's something to look into. It does not seem to want to click, but maybe that's why buying the name brand might be the way to go. But let's read some specs on this camera that I got pulled up here. Let's see. So on the website, it says that it has a nano coat, a nanoporous coat put on the lens, which they use to kind of as a filter already built into it to prevent UV glare from getting in your photos, which is very cool. It's kind of like having a UV filter built in. However, I would probably still put some type of filter just to protect the glass on top of it. Um, I've had this lens maybe for about a year now. It was the first lens I bought for my camera. It's been fine. I'm kind of getting tired of it just because it's so heavy. Uh, but it's definitely not something I'm gonna get rid of. It's just something I'm wanting to switch from. I want to shoot 50 millimeter lens or 85 millimeter 1.4. Both Sigmas. I like Sigma. I don't think it's worth paying the extra thousand for the Sony branding. It pairs nicely with my A7 IV. This is a 33 megapixel camera. It's professional grade. Shoots video very fine or very good. Um, this one's just fine today. It got me through the day, but I was wishing the whole time I had other ones that I left at home. The colors just don't seem to translate as well, and that just means more time editing for me in post, which is not fun. One thing that's cool about here is it has an AFL button, which means you can program your own like autofocus or commands on here, which is something you can't do on here. Also, on the kit lens, you cannot uh, lock your autofocus on the lens. You can only do that on the camera or through the camera software. On here, it has a manual or an analog button to turn it on manual and automatic, which is very, very nice. The build quality on here is significantly heavier and more robust than the Sony, or not the Sony kit lens, not the G Master. The G Master is more or less the same size, maybe a little beefier than this. Um, I throw this in my bag all the time, and it has these a rubber outer layer, which works really nice for a to protect it from scratches and stuff. I don't have any scratches on the actual body. I just had scratches on the lens cover and the cap, but the body itself has been pretty robust. I've shot this in the rain before, cold temperatures. I trusted the weather. I've taken it to the beach actually. I've had sand get on it, so I trust it a lot. Um, just so you can see what it looks like. I'll throw it on my camera. There's dust on my. Hold up, this one be loud. There was dust on my sensor. Can't have that. That's the sensor, the mirrorless camera. Look how much beefier this got. And just look more professional. Oh, you can see yourself. Yeah, this hurts my wrist after a while. I have put this outside of the car. I'm doing roller shots. I feel like my arm was gonna fly off. Makes the camera weigh 7 pounds when I had this lens, which most telephoto lens, let's see, a 70 to 200 millimeter lens for Canon weighs the same as a 24 to 70 Sigma. So, I mean, if you're coming from Canon to this, you might be surprised with how heavy Sony lenses are, or Sony E-mount lenses are. It's just the glass they use for mirrorless cameras, I guess, is more complex than EF, like DSLR classic mirrorless cameras. So that's probably why there's such a weight difference. But I would totally recommend switching to mirrorless if you can. This works amazingly well at night. Let's see, if you go into your manual mode, my ISO goes up to 204,800. So that's a little reference on how amazing these cameras are. This is a 2020 model. I would recommend this combo specifically. I think this is a great beginner combo. It's able to shoot S-Log, which is like raw files for video. So you can color grade and stuff very nicely. It has two SD card slots. It runs on V90 cards, which is not your typical SD card. Your typical SD card is a V60 card, but that doesn't have high enough writing speeds to put like 4K at 60 frames per second video. So you use a V90 card, which is what this runs on, and it can handle it. It also has the ability to use a CF Express card, which is a bigger one that maintains color better than a regular SD card. I don't use it because it's kind of an outdated technology, but it's still supported by professionals because a lot of professionals use it. And it has the ability to do that. It has like 5 custom buttons that you could program to your liking. It's not your typical intimidating dials. There's really nothing on the top of it. These are the buttons on the back. Not very intimidating camera. Everything's built into the software. That's where all your settings are. And even then, it's color coded. Everything's English. It's super easy to navigate. Exposure, flash. This doesn't have a built-in flash. I will say that. You will need to add your own, and it has to be TTL, which means that it communicates to the camera natively. I am using a Godot, so I'm not using a Sony flash, and I do have problems with that. So I would recommend you get, I guess, a Sony flash if you can. But that's all really besides the point. But this setup will be your moneymaker. Car photography, portraits, animals. I've shot wild monkeys with this camera before. I've gone like 10 feet away from a wild monkey with this lens, and I was able to get very in focus camera shots of these monkeys with I can see their eyes perfectly. Um, super recommend this lens. It's a great travel lens, great for everything. I think I'm kind of exceeding the skill level of a zoom lens right now, where I think the look I'm going for in my own work requires a prime lens. But this lens will always have a place in my bag. I think I'll always recommend this lens to anybody, and for any uh, camera manufacturer, I think it's fine for DSLRs as well. It's just an overall great focal length. They have a 28 to 70 millimeter version. I wouldn't do that because you're losing on 4 millimeters. I would just spend the extra 100, get the 24. 24 is a wide range of view. You can get crowds, you can do landscape, no problem with it. You can add a Sony teleconverter to this and add an extra like 30 meters or 30 millimeters onto the lens by doing that. Overall, it's a really nice camera. It came with this very nice camera bag for the lens itself. I think Sigma is the only company I know that provides stuff like this for their customers, which means you spend $1,000 and you're getting a very quality bag. It makes me feel like I spent my money well. You know, it's kind of disappointing when you get a product and it's just the product and they don't give you any freebies. But that's just my opinion. But overall, if you have like a precision camera or rentcameras.com, rent lenses, you can rent this lens, throw it on your camera. You're probably not going to take it off for a while. It's one of the best lenses I've shot with. But that pretty much concludes this live stream. I hope you like it. Maybe in the bottom, I'll put in the descriptions, I'll put the link to it, maybe an affiliate link. But that's all for now. Thank you. Bye.